Hey guys, thanks for watching. This is Zach. I'm with Zach Keel Design, and today we are working on making this character right here. And basically, we're working on doing what is essentially a Kitbash between 5 different models. All of these models were taken from the Steam Workshop. So I've just got right here Malik 079. I will put the link in the description for these two characters here, and that's the actual link there. And then these three over here are all coming from the Warmachine Menoth army by Kojiro, and there is the Steam link for that one. So then we are going to take all 5 of these characters. We're going to take parts, multiple different parts from each of them, and we're going to put them together to make this cool little character right here. All of these techniques, you could, if you want to, you can follow along with the exact same characters and everything, or you can go in and track down your own characters that you want to use for it. Either way, the principles are all going to be the same. And the way I'm going to try to do this video is to really let you kind of work with it the way that's going to work for you. So let's get started. All right, so we are loaded in right now. Here are all of the files that we'll be working with to actually put together. So I'll be grabbing the mace from this dwarf. I'll be grabbing the horns from this demon. We're going to be using the head from this character, body from this character, shield from this character, and then we'll put everything together, re-import it back into Tabletop Simulator, and then we should be all set from there. So the first step that we're going to do is we're going to have to download every model. So to do that, just right click on the model, go to custom, and then right here, the model mesh, this will be actually the 3D model. The diffuse image, that's going to be the actual texture file for it. So first we're going to just download the model, just copy it. I just did Control C. You could also yep, that would probably be the only way to do it. Control and C, and that should do it. So that'll let you copy it. Just go into a web browser, Control V, paste it in, hit enter. And then you can see it's just going to download it right there. So I'm just going to go into my tutorials. Just make a new folder. And then we'll just do raw models, and we'll do raw textures. That way we've got everything right there. It should make it pretty easy just to find everything that we need and access all of it. So go here, gonna drop that first file in. You can see it right there. Some of the files, it really just depends on who uploaded it and everything. Some of the files, so now I'm just copying over the diffuse image. I'm gonna paste that in. So that doesn't just automatically download, so you'll just do save image as, just right click, save image as. Go back to documents. And I'm just gonna put it into where I'm keeping it. Obviously you can keep it wherever you want. And we're just going to call it dwarf mace. Just save that file right there. And you can see, now we've got it right there. So we're just going to go through, do that with every model. And that way we should have everything all worked out then. I'm just going to show it in folder, and that way I have access to it right there. Then I'm just dragging it. You could also do the same thing, Control C, Control V to copy and paste it. But I'm just dragging and dropping. And this would be the exact same process if you're doing it with anything, anything else at all. So I'm going to go through and we'll just get all of these saved real quick. Let's see. Cool, and I'm just going to skip forward on here. All right, so now we've got 5 models and we've got 5 texture files. So that's exactly what we're looking for. So that should be everything that we need to actually start getting everything set up. So we're going to move now over from Tabletop Simulator, and we're just going to pop open Blender. And so now we'll just have to take everything that we got set up so far, and we're just going to make a brand new file, and we're just going to bring everything in. So first step, we've just got this empty Blender file. Hit A just to select everything, delete, and then just delete. And I'm going to, real quick while I'm thinking about it, turn screencast on. So there we go. So now, yep, I just hit A and delete, and that let me delete everything in the scene. We're gonna go up to the top, and I'm just gonna move it over to Cycles Render. You could definitely do everything in the Blender render, but I like using Cycles Render. It's just what I'm more used to working with. And I would say no matter what you're doing, even though this is, this isn't, professional level stuff or anything, but I think no matter what you're doing, it's worth it to just get used to working with cycles. I think it's just a better workflow, and it's going to look a lot nicer. And so then if you ever want to actually do any rendering in Blender, you'll just be that much more well off. So we'll just go through and over to cycles. So the next thing that we're going to need to do is actually import all of our files. So we'll just go File, Import, and then OBJ. And every one that we're going to work with is going to be an OBJ file. So that shouldn't be a problem. I don't think you can really import any other files into Tabletop Simulator, so shouldn't have to worry about that. So we'll just go into our raw models, and we should be able to, let's see if this, yep, that did it. So I just hit Shift. Actually, no, it didn't. It just did the first one. So we'll just go through. We're going to actually just import all of them. So we'll just do them one at a time. Daughter leader. There's that one. And down here, these are all your layers. So you can choose which layer you're working with at the time. I'm just going to go one down. Just click down to the next layer, and we'll just do one object for each layer. That way we can keep everything separate. Should be a lot more easy to keep track of everything. So I'm just hitting A at each time just to deselect everything. Grab the dwarf. There he is. That's going to be our actual body for our character. Oh, and this one I accidentally put on the wrong one, but all you have to do is just hit M, because it has everything selected. So we'll just hit M and then move it to that layer. So now you can see we've got this layer, this one, and this one. So now we've got everything all set up. The next big thing that we're going to make sure to do, just to make sure that everything looks good, we'll switch from solid viewport shading over here on the left. We're going to switch it to material. Everything's just going to turn white because we haven't added a material like a texture file to any of them yet. So let's just go one by one, and we'll just add in a texture file. And I'm just going to name them after the part that I'm going to be using. So we'll just name this file face. I'm going to click over in this corner, drag it out, hit T to remove the toolbar on the left, hit T to remove the toolbar over here as well, even further on the left. Oop. There we go. And we're going to go to the node editor. This is going to actually let us, tweak everything. So we'll hit N to get rid of that little, side toolbar on the right side of this left side window. And then I'm just going to click Use Nodes. So we have just a diffuse, which is just like a regular, image. So the next thing we're going to do, I'm just going to hold down Shift and A. That'll let us add something into the node editor. Shift A, highlight texture, and then image texture. Oh, there it is. Cool. Just hitting G to actually grab it and move it. We're going to take the color node, drop it into the color of the diffuse, and you can see it turns everything black. So that seems like it would be a problem. That's exactly what we want. That means that we've got everything set up right there. Right now I'm in perspective view. You can tell because everything gets kind of widened out. Just gonna hit 5 to hit orthographic view. It usually makes it a little easier to judge height and all of that stuff. So we've got that set up there. Now we're just gonna open a file. I'm just gonna click on raw models and then go back one. So I go to raw textures. And here I can't quite remember which one is which, even though I tried to name them. I forgot to name some of them though. So I think it is Siren Head. And I was right. If I was wrong, it wouldn't matter. We could just rework it. This one actually has these other parts separate. And, you know, and so you could add in a new one and name it and everything. But actually, if we just go and click face, it's all using the same image file. So we can just select the same image or the same material for all of the objects, and that'll just fix it. So now this character is all set. So let's move down the line. We're just going to go to the demon. I'm just going to name him Horns, because that's all we're using from him. It's just his horns. So we're just going to do the same thing. I'll just select textures, and this one's named Demon, so that one is pretty straightforward. Name this next one Mace. The shield looks good too, but we're just going to use the mace for this one. And let's see. This one actually has 2. I'm just going to click on the second one, delete it because we only need the one. This one, I know the Revenger is the one with the shield, so that it would have to be this one. There we go. Name the last one Shield, because that's what we're using. And some of this you wouldn't necessarily have to do, but it's, you know, I think it's good practice. So now we've got every single one of these. And since we're basing everything off of this character right here, I'm actually going to start by, I'm just going to take this character, hit A until everything's selected, hit M to move it to a different layer, and I'm just going to move it down over to this layer here, because I want to take this model here and make sure it's on my first layer, just to make it a little bit more straightforward of, you know, this is the actual model that we're going to be using. Everything else is just, you know, is just stuff that we're going to be pulling from. So first things first, we don't need this little scepter here. We can just get rid of that, hit delete, and delete it. So now there is that. This one here, we just need the horns. So I'm just gonna right click on it, hold down shift, right click on the other one. Then I'm gonna hit M to move that, and we're just gonna move that to the layer below the main layer. So that way it's right there. So that's pretty, you know, pretty straightforward. So the nice thing then is when we're working, we can actually click on this layer, hold down shift, click on the other layer, and now we're actually looking at both at the same time. So then we could, you know, rotate everything. We could get it all set up right here. We're not quite ready to do that yet. So the first thing I'm going to do, because the most important part is the head, to make sure that the character's head is set up how we need it. So I'm just going to take this character's head here, hit M, move it to that same layer as the horns. Now we've got it right there. Hold down shift and click on the main layer as well. And so you can see it's actually, you know, a good 50% already there. But what we're going to do first, obviously we need to go in and get rid of the original head. So once we have this model selected, we're just going to hit tab to go into edit mode, hit A to deselect everything. And this will depend on exactly what model you're working with. Just highlight a vertex if you have, vertex mode selected, or highlight a face if you have face select mode selected. Just, put your cursor over it, hit L, and that'll let you select a part. So we're just going to go through, and I'm just going to do that. Just hitting L to select a bunch of these parts. We're just gonna get every part of the head and just take the whole thing out. So, G, that'll let us grab it. And there's no reason to really keep it. So I'm just gonna delete it, and we'll just work through finding what else is in here that we need to get rid of. I'm just hitting Control Z when I accidentally select the wrong part. Delete that, and that's the entire head. So now we are all set to basically transplant the new head on there. You can kind of tell this head's a little bit bigger, so I'm just going to scale it down a little bit. It's also going to bring it literally down, so we'll just have to kind of make that work. If you might be able to tell too, so when I select this head, this little orange dot, that's the actual origin point for the model, because that would be kind of the origin point if it was on the entire body, which normally isn't a problem. I think to actually be able to move it easier, I'm going to actually move the character's head to the origin point just to make it a little bit smoother to actually rotate and, tweak stuff. So we're just going to hit Tab to go into edit mode. Everything's already selected. Hit G to grab it, Z to move it only on the Z axis, so up and down. We're going to move it down there. I'm going to hit 3 to go to side view, and you can see it's actually pretty close. So I'm just going to hit G and then Y to move it back, front and back. Move it just a little bit there. Hit Tab to get back out of edit mode. And now when we tweak it, it's a lot easier to just rotate and get all of that stuff. So I'm going to have her kind of looking in the direction of, of where she's kind of pointing, where she'll be eventually pointing with the actual mace. So we've got that there. I'm going to go back into edit mode. We just need to, this isn't a huge deal, but it'll look a lot better. I'm going to go into edge select, hold down Alt, right click on there. And we're just basically, all we're trying to do here is we're just trying to do a little bit of tweaking just to make sure that all of these, so that basically it doesn't look like there's any really noticeable gaps or anything in between. I'm just going to grab on the X-axis to bring that over, grab on the X-axis. And pretty much all we're doing is we're just kind of bringing stuff along with the intention of trying to fill in those gaps. You don't need to be incredibly precise. It's not, it's not something when you actually think about the size of the actual model and what it's going to be like in Tabletop Simulator, it's going to be very small. So trying to fill in every little gap isn't completely necessary, but that should get it pretty well. So we've got the head set up. Next, we're going to just do the horns. With the horns, since their spacing and everything will stay the same. I might tweak it later, but for now I'm just going to make them the same. So I'm just going to right click on one, right click on the other, right click on one, hold down Shift, right click on the other, and then do Control and J, and that'll actually join them into one object. So that way it's all set up right there. You can see we've got the same problem. The origin isn't where the actual object is. So we're going to hit Tab, grab it, Z, hit 3, grab it, Y, and then the only other thing too is you can see it's kind of askew, which I don't really care for. So I'm just going to hit Z, that'll go into wireframe mode. We're just going to hit R for rotate. You're going to rotate on the Z axis and rotate it so that it's just forward, and you're just doing it visually, so it's not a big deal. Hit G, and then we're just going to move it like that. And I'd hit 7 in order to get to that top view. So we can hit Z again. That'll take us back to solid view. I like to go into material just to make sure everything looks right. I'm just, when I am on front view, I'm just going to hit R again to rotate a little bit, try to get them kind of even. And there we go. Going to scale it down just a little bit. And now we can grab it on the Z axis, bring it up here, hitting period in order to zoom in. And now we'll just kind of tweak and move, and we're just kind of trying to get it right where we want it. I'm going to scale it down a little bit more. Typically, you don't want to... That's pretty good. Typically, you don't want to make a lot of changes on the model in object mode. You usually want to do it in edit mode, but we can also hit just 10, or actually apply, I think. Apply object transform, and that way it just keeps it right where we need it. I'm just going to check and make sure it looks like all of the, yeah, it looks like all of the vertices are, you know, nice and stored and everything. And that looks fine. You know, logically, I mean, should the part be the way it is? Maybe not. But I think the character, everything kind of meshes pretty well that way, though. I think visually, especially from a distance, it looks pretty cool. We could, if we wanted to, we could always kind of bring them in a little bit. Trying to get it centered a little. And we're just trying to get everything so that it looks as even as possible. Just bringing it back a little. There we go. And that's starting to look pretty good. And I think I'm going to go with that because I could bring the horns in a little more, but then I think they're going to start curling in on each other. You could do a lot of tweaking if you want to. There's always more tweaking to do. So that's really, you know, but this will actually get it, you know, get it going so far. So we've got the horns done. We could actually, if we wanted this ring, we could bring in, since it's a cleric, I don't think it's really necessarily appropriate for the character, so I'm just going to leave that. So next step, we'll just grab the mace. You can see the mace is in multiple parts. So what we're going to do is, before I actually move anything, because I don't want to be dealing with that once it's actually in there, so what we're going to do first is just hold down shift and right click. Sorry, my cat is sneezing. And so now we've got the entire mace selected. Control and J to join everything together. So there we go. Now we're going to move it to that same layer, kind of our extras layer. You can see it's a little, you know, a little big. I probably want to make the actual mace less large and a little bit longer, so it just looks a little bit more kind of regal. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go to front view, hit edit mode, or tab to go into edit mode. We're going to grab it, bring it down to the origin point, just like we've done before. And actually I'm going to tab out and just work on this mode. That way there's not as much stuff in the way. I'm going to grab it on the Y axis. We're going to rotate it. Try our best to get it as centered as possible. Let's see. There we go. Now I'm going to scale it down. And at these points, and see, I'm just going to and we can actually get get it as exact as possible by just rotating and trying to get this top vertex and this vertex right here right in line. That looks pretty good, and it looks pretty centered. I'm just going to bring it there, and that should do it. So that's looking pretty good. And we just want to center it this way as well. There we go. So that's looking pretty much right that way. Just to get it a little bit easier, I'm going to move it to its own separate layer. There we go. So go back into edit mode. I'm going to hit Z in order to get back into wireframing, and then B to make a box, and we're just going to select these endpoints here. Hit Z to get back out. I'm going to go into material mode because right now we're going to actually lengthen it a little bit. The thing with doing this is it is going to stretch the texture and everything, but it still should look okay. We're just going to turn on proportional editing, which will allow us to kind of get it so that it'll kind of stretch through the entire length of the handle of the mace instead of just stretching at the end. So now we're going to hit grab, and we're going to grab it on the Y-axis, and we're just going to pull it out. And then just use the mouse wheel to kind of slow that a little bit. Have it, and we'll do something like that. And I think that looks pretty good. And go back into edit mode, AA, select everything, scale it down a little bit. Grab it on the Y a little bit, just to get a little bit more centered. I'm going to disable proportional editing so I don't forget to later. And that's looking pretty good. So now we're just going to M, move the mace back over to our extras tab. And you can do Control and 3 to move to the other side. Just gonna grab that, put it just like there. Put it just like there. And this is usually the way I like to work. It's a little small, so we're gonna scale it up a little bit. But yeah, that's starting to look pretty good. And it kind of follows the motion of her wrist and arm and everything, so looks pretty natural. Like, it looks kind of how it ought to. So that's looking pretty nice so far. So all we have left now is just the shield. Shield, nice thing with it, it's completely separate. There's next to nothing that needs to be done with it. So we're just going to take that shield, M, move it over to our accessories layer, and take it, go into edit mode, bring it down, bring it over, bring it back, rotate a little bit. There we go. And this is going to be a little bit more involved in terms of getting it to kind of fit correctly. It's also very big. I'm going to rotate it so that it fits the angle a little more. You can always just kind of move your view until it fits the angle that the character's looking, just like that, you know. Just to kind of get it so that you can rotate it sort of the way you want it. And this all kind of just comes down to just keep tweaking it, you know. So I think overall I'm kind of liking that. The only thing that I feel like it's missing is there's no kind of band connecting it. So let's see. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to literally look through and see if there's something I can find. Like here, honestly, the shield band right here would be great for it. So we're just going to take that from the dwarf, hit P. That'll let us separate the object. And we're just going to choose selection. So whatever we have selected, we're going to separate that, move it. And this might be a little bit involved to actually get this right where it needs to be, but it shouldn't be too much trouble. We'll just bring it, get it right snapped onto the origin point. There it is. I'm just grabbing and moving. Just slowly working it out, you know. It's a little bit of a process, but eventually we'll get it all right where we need it to be. Just trying to get it centered on the hand. We are getting there. There it is. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty nice. Let's trying to get the angle quite right. Let's duplicate it. Hold down Shift and D. That'll let us bring it further over. And we're just going to just tweaking it. And what we're going to do here, let's just expand that out. Yeah. So we're going to go into edit mode. It's a little hard to see at the moment, but we're just going to hit Z. I'm going to hit C, and that'll let us actually use a brush to select. So I'm going to select all the vertices in the center there because we just want to control all of those. Going to right click to get out of there. Go back to material view. Going to turn on some proportional editing again. Kind of get the angle where we want it and grab it. Let's see. This might be a bit much. That's not bad. A lot of this, when you're kind of putting this stuff together, some of it can just really be kind of trial and error as well. So I'm just going back into the character. And I'm just gonna select this part. I'm gonna see if it looks stupid. If it looks stupid, we don't need to, we can do something else, but I'm just gonna move that, see how that looks. Honestly, I think that looks pretty good. So there we go. And now we've got the shield kind of set up in a way that looks pretty nice. It looks like it fits. So now we've basically got that all completely set up. So everything is, everything's been put together now. So the next step will just be to actually, we're just going to need to actually take all of the texture files and put them all together. So before we do that though, should have done this a while ago. File, save. We're just going to name it. I'm just going to name it. We'll call it Tiefling Cleric Mini 1. There we go. So now we've got the file actually saved in. Just in case something goes horribly wrong, we've got something, So I'm going to take these two bands and the shield, and I'm going to join them together. That's looking pretty good. So now we don't really have any need for any of the other parts. Any of the rest of the demon or anything, we can just get rid of all of that. So I'm just going to go layer by layer. AA, delete. AA, delete. And we're just going to get rid of all of that because we don't need any of this old stuff anymore. It's all in the past. So now we're feeling pretty good about this. We could put it all together right now if we wanted to. I'm just going to leave it separate. It just makes it a little easier to keep an eye on everything. So now we look at what we have here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 separate files that we're going to be using. And I forgot, in terms of the image files, it'll probably be easiest if we just take these, separate those. We don't use the shield texture on this one. We don't use the mace texture on this one. There we go. That way they're all kind of, it's all set up. Just gonna save it again. Just good force of habit. So the next step is that we're going to move over to Photoshop and start getting that set up. So we'll skip over to there and get that started. All right, so now that we've got Photoshop open, we're going to go through and we're going to open up every file that we're using. And Photoshop being Photoshop will make this very easy. So I'm going to go into my Documents folder, Tutorials, there it is. Hold down Shift, just open all of them. It's just going to open them all up. There we go. So that is pretty nice. I think in theory, it actually looks like these two have the exact same texture file. So that's pretty cool. Actually, not quite. But the head is all that we really need. So what we can do first, I'm just going to hit V. Just so that I can go to the Move tool. And we're just going to drag it onto this one. Since this one's kind of a good basis to start from, I'm just going to drag it right on there. Really easy. Some of it's going to be easy, some of it's going to be hard. We'll just kind of see what happens as we go. Depending on the size of the image, this one has a lot of empty space. So that kind of really opens up the option for us to just kind of cheat a little bit, you know? Or we can kind of just drag them all in. And look at that, we've pretty much got everything right on there, which is really cool. But now we've got 5, so there's not enough space, right? So here's what we're going to do next. We have a lot of wasted images here. You know, we've got the entire dwarf. We don't need the entire dwarf. We've got the Revenger. We've got all of him there, you know, and you can see all we are using is literally just the shield. So let's find out exactly what we really need. So we'll start with, for the shield, what exactly do we need to make the shield work? So first we're going to switch over from the node editor to the UV image editor. We're going to go down. We're going to check the Revenger because that's the file that this shield's associated with. Go into edit mode, hit A to select everything, and you can see the only parts that we're using are these top left ones. So I'm going to do a real quick and dirty kind of change on this. So what we're going to do, because I want to keep everything just in case I mess up, I don't want to lose any of that. So we're going to first just go right here, add layer mask, and we're just going to select, you're going to do it really rough. There's no reason to be really precise. Select that. So this is the area that we're going to save. So we're going to right click on it, select inverse, hit G for the paint bucket tool. When black is selected and we have the mask selected, then hit, just do that. We'll turn it all black. So there we go. So now we've only got the part that we absolutely need on here. I'm going to go back to this one. Just bring it right here. I just hit V to switch back to the Move tool, Z, Zoom tool. That's basically everything that I'm using here. So the horns are going to be the next thing that we don't need very much of. So what I'm going to do next is, let's see, we can get out of there. So the horns are going to be the next one. So we're going to make sure that we actually have the demon texture selected. Go into edit mode, select it all, and you can actually hit A and that'll highlight it all orange. So that's all that we need right there. It's just literally these two chunks right there. So everything else is completely unnecessary. So I'm going to go in. We're going to go in with the polygonal lasso tool again. Just select what we need. Select inverse, do the same thing. Oh, actually, my mistake, I didn't add the mask yet, so add the mask. There we go, select inverse. There it is. So there it is right in there. We could do that for everything and select only the essential stuff. When you start making more complicated pieces and things, it's definitely worth it to do it. I'm not going to worry about that on this one. We're just going to save this. I'm going to save it twice just because this is how I get. I like having a lot of duplicate stuff. So we're going to save one, and it's just going to be called Tiefling Cleric. And that's Tiefling Cleric Photoshop file, so .psd. So that way we've got everything separate. We're going to just save it one more time. We'll just save it as a PNG. And the PNG is what we're going to use because we can't use a PSD file in Tabletop Simulator. We could use it in Blender, but we're not going to. We'll just use the PNG, and that way we know everything's going to transfer right. So we've dropped all the images in together, but that's not going to let this all work. What we're going to need to do is we're going to make a new file, and I'm just going to call this Tiefling. And so this new material, not file. So we're just going to name this Tiefling, and then we're going to make that material assigned to everything to make sure it's all correct. So in the Tiefling, we're just going to open up. We've got Tiefling Cleric.png. So we're just going to choose that, and what the heck, look at that. It ruined everything, right? Yes, but it's going to be really easy to fix. We're just going to go back to the UV image editor. We're just going to select Tiefling Cleric. And so when I hit tab to go into edit mode and I select everything, it's like, that's why it's not working. See, because it's covering the entire texture file, and we're only using one coordinate just for this part. So we're going to hit A to select everything. We're going to hit S to scale it 0.5, because that'll actually take up only a quarter of it. And then this part is a little bit of kind of, finagling. We're just going to move it around a little bit. Just zoom in a lot with the mouse wheel. Really try to get it as precise as you possibly can. And you can always get out and get back in if you need to. So that's looking pretty good though. Now see, this one, they had some spots where it was all tiling. So we've got these bits out here. And that, to the best of my knowledge, you think about it, that it's tiling. So this would be like up here, So we're just going to bring it up. It's not very clear where that's supposed to be, but I think it's supposed to be part of the neck. So it's not a big deal though. Really, if you notice it, then we could finagle it and make it work. We could find exactly where it corresponds to and get it to sort out. But that's looking pretty good. So now we've got the body set up. So now the body actually is assigned to the correct image file. Next, we'll just do the horns. Just change it from horns to Tiefling. And then we've got that problem again. So we're just going to do it again, scale it 0.5. And you can see really a lot of what you're doing with this process is mostly just tweaking, fixing, combining. It's all really, honestly, very straightforward. It's just a process of kind of getting used to it. And do the same with the face now. The face is actually all set because we're fortunate that the face, was what we started from, and it was already kind of organized this way. So that makes it really easy. If we needed to, like in this file here, if we needed to, and let's say, we actually needed way more space for the file, as long as you're doing everything, as long as you're scaling everything, like if you do it like that, where the center part, we're cropping it and we're actually, making it so that it's actually, twice as large, then it's all going to be very easy. If you're not doing that, then it can get more complicated. So I would recommend doing that, at least for the start. I'll probably do a video later on exactly how to really tweak stuff in order to get it, in order to be able to do stuff like if we wanted to actually just make it just twice as long but not twice as tall, and actually be able to tweak stuff like that. But that can get a lot more complex when you're actually trying to do the UV mapping, which is putting these parts here, onto the image file. That can get a lot more complex. So for this video, we'll just do it this way. So next, let's do the mace. Scale at 0.5. Bring it over here, and we'll just get it. There we go. And that's looking pretty nice. The last part, we've got these here. Ooh, and we're going to need to switch that over to Tiefling. Ooh. Wonder where they originally had this. Let's see. So I'm just undoing in order to get it back where we need to. Just gonna go to the mace just so that I have it for reference. Because right now it's a little hard to tell exactly where it is. So we're gonna go back to the dwarf mace image file. We're gonna go in. And that's where it is. So now we know we can go back out. Switch back to the Tiefling Cleric file, scale it by 0.5. And we're going to bring it over, and that's looking pretty good. Next is the shield. Scale at 0.5. Just kind of eyeballing everything here. So that is looking pretty good. The only thing is this back piece right there. If you go in, you can see it. They did it again where it tiles. So we're just going to grab those, grab it on the X, because we just need to bring it across. So we're just going to get right there. Just going to zoom in a little bit, grab it on the X. There we go. So I'm just going to save one more time. One thing you could do at this point, if you wanted to make sure that everything was right, I'm just going to select everything, Control J, that joins everything together. You can see there's still only one material. If we had, I'm going to Control Z just to go back. Let's say the shield, let's say we still had the shield set to, shield. And so we did right here, join it, it would actually have two. And that's how you can tell something's not right. One of the materials isn't correct. So that way we know there's one material assigned to everything, as you can see. So I'm just going to keep it separate anyways, just for the sake of being able to tell where everything is. Let's label everything just in case we need it later. That's going to be horns. It's going to be head. It's going to be shield. It's going to be mace. And now we can take these straps and the shield, join them together, because now they're all going to be together. So that's all set. And what is this? Yep, that's the body. So we'll just call it body. There we go. Let's save it. So now this one would, basically, you could just take the entire thing, just get it so that it's kind of standing where you want. It's a little weird with this model because you can see 1 foot is higher than another, which doesn't make much sense. But so now we've got it pretty much all set. We could just stop it right here. There's 2 things that I like to do for all of my models though. The first thing is I usually like to put a base on there, and we could, grab, there's bases around, a lot of the Warhammer 40K mods have bases and stuff, and we could always import one of those, but it's really easy to make one. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to take everything, grab it, and we're just going to bring it up to leave it a little bit of room for the base. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to go to another layer, Shift A to add in something. We're going to add in a circle. Now, before you make any changes, before you click off or anything, hit T to open your toolbar. We've got 32 vertices. I'm going to do, I don't think we need that many. I'm going to do 24 vertices. It still looks like a circle, you know? That way we're saving some vertices, it'll load faster and all of that. So that is all good now. So let's bring everything else back in, holding Shift. So now you can see what it's going to look like. Let's go into edit mode. We're going to scale it down because we just want to get it so it's kind of looking like a proper size base for this, if it were like a miniature, you know. So let's take that and we're just going to kind of try to make it look a little cool. So we're going to extrude it on the Z axis. There we go. I just had to select the vertex select because we were selecting faces and there weren't any faces. So we're just going to do that, and then we're going to scale it in just to bring it in a little bit. We're going to extrude it up again, scale it in a little bit less. That way we've got kind of a nice looking, you know, little lip on there. Extrude it on the Z. We're just going to bring that up just to get it. There we go. Now we can extrude and scale, bring it all the way in, and then we're just going to do Alt M to merge everything right at the very center. So there we go. And then we're just going to take the bottom. I just did Alt and right click. That lets us select the entire loop of edges. Extrude, scale it, Alt M, merge at center. There we go. And now it's all merged together. I'm going to change the shading to smooth, and you can tell it's looking like a base. You know, you could do some different styles and everything. Be creative with it. You know, you're a smart person. Make it your own. I'm just going to bring this down. Oh, just going to bring everything but the base down. It's still a little weird. I kind of hate the fact that that foot is lower. You know what we might actually do? Let's just take this. Let's go into edit mode. Yeah, let's go into edit mode. We're just going to... Oh, dang it. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit... It's going to skew some stuff. Let's just select it. I have to tell you, that is really annoying that it looks like that. So we're just going to do that. We're going to, instead of doing enabling, because I don't want it to tweak this brace here, I just want it to only mess with, you know, the foot. So we're going to change it to connected. We're just going to rotate it. And we're just going to rotate it there, bring it up a little bit. There we go. And let's just do that a little bit. There we go. That way it's at least, you know, it's a little bit more correct. Material view, there it is, cool. So now we're going to take the exact same one. We're going to select that. Just select everything, UV unwrap. Looks a little weird, right? Doesn't matter. We're going to take it and make it so small that it's just going to be essentially just a color. I'm just going to take that. Oh. It's giving me a little bit of a problem, it seems like. See, we're getting those kind of edges there, which I don't like. So what we might have to do is we might have to create some edges. So we're just going to select that one, Control E to just tweak the edge, mark it as a seam. So when we unwrap this, what that's going to do is that's going to let us, that means that it's going to cut everything right there when unwraps the UV. So we're just going to scale it. We still don't need to be very precise. We're just trying to get a color. There it is. Perfect. So that kind of helps make everything sort of complement itself. Just going to take the base and I'm going to move it to the same layer as all of the rest of it. There we go. So now we've got everything on there. Save it one more time. And so now we've basically got everything set up. There's one more thing that I really like to do. It helps, I think it helps everything act correct on Tabletop Simulator is when you actually bring it in as a piece. Right now it's going to generate a collision box, which is so that when you're setting models on top of one another, or you're trying to, if you're trying to set one down or something, sometimes they can have problems where they'll collide with one another, knock each other off, and just kind of make a lot of problems. So one thing I like to do is actually create a collision box, which is really simple. We're just going to go to a new layer, hit Shift A, we're going to add a cube, and this is going to be our collision box. So we just want everything right there, and what we're going to do is we're going to go to the object display tab over here, and we're going to do maximum draw distance, and it's going to be wire. That way, so now we can see through everything. So we're going to bring it up. The origin isn't a huge deal with this, and then we're going to go into edit mode. I like to be right on with this, so scale it on the Z, grab it on the Z, scale it on the Z. And you just, basically what you're trying to do is you're just trying to set it up so it's a little bit smaller than what it should actually be. It's kind of like, it's just, the point is basically so that it's a little forgiving and stuff won't get knocked around a bunch, and it should look pretty good. I'm just gonna make it a little bit smaller. Scaling on the X, Y, and Z axes, independently. So that seems pretty good. We're just gonna save it. And now we've got all of our parts all separate. So we're gonna save one more time just because I like to save. And so now we're just gonna export our files. So if you just export everything right now and you're like, it's done, that's perfect. The collider box will cover everything. So we're gonna make sure not to save. We're just gonna take the collider box, we're gonna delete it, go File, Export, Object, and we're just gonna go to this main one, Tiefling Cleric Mini 1 Object, just export it. We're gonna do Control Z. That way we've got the collider box again. We're gonna take these two layers, A to select everything, delete them. Now you wanna make sure you don't save right here. It's very important. Export, and we're just going to call this one, we'll just do _ COLL for collider. Export that. And then Control Z until everything's back in there. So now we can save again, everything's safe. And now we've got it done. So let's go back into our Tabletop Simulator. You can take any object. We're just gonna take this one here, Control C, copy it, Control V, paste it. Oop, accidentally copied 2, just delete that. So now we can go, we're gonna take this model, right click, custom. We're gonna open it up, and with Steam now, you can actually just take your own files just right there. So should be pretty easy. Let's see if I can find my, oh boy. Documents, there it is, cool. So we're gonna pick the object. We're going to upload it to the cloud, and that way if you put it in a mod or something, other people can use it. We're going to do the same with the textures. Raw textures. Tiefling Cleric. Upload it to the cloud. And then we're also going to do the collider, which, like we were saying before, the collider is completely optional. upload that to the cloud as well. So there we go. It's a figurine, so we've got that all correct. Import it. Take just a second. Looks like the collider's a little low, isn't it? Nope. You know what the problem is? It's actually the normal map on everything. Let's go back into Blender real quick. So everything looks fine here, right? When we go into solid mode, see, everything looks a little weird in some spots. These here should end up being okay, but what we can do is we can hit N to open this view over here. Hit backface culling. So when you hit backface culling, that makes it so when the normals basically tell the system which side is facing out. When you do backface culling, it makes it so you can see through the back of the face. You know, it culls the back of the face, backface culling. So you can see here, this is not correct. We can see through it. It's all kind of weird. So hit T. We're going to go into edit mode, go to shading UVs, recalculate the normals. There it is. So that fixes it right there. Save one more time. We don't need to do anything with the collider. I'm just going to export one more time and export. There we go, undo. That way we've still got everything saved on here. That should do it. So we're just going to go back in. We're just going to have to re-upload. Import it. And there it is. So now everything's looking pretty good. And you can see, looks like our collider's a little bit off. And you know, it's all just, yep, and you can see that's exactly the problem. I'm gonna bring this up just a little bit. There we go. So that should do it right there. You could spend forever just tweaking everything, trying to make it as 100% perfect as you can, but that should be pretty good. Save everything. Delete everything but the collider. Export the collider again. Undo all of that. And then we're just going to re-import it, you know, and this is kind of all it is just trial and error. The more used to it you get, the faster you get with it, obviously. I mean, I've done a decent number of these. There it is. That's what we're looking for. And so there we have it. So this is our new, and we'll just call him Tiefling Cleric. And now we've got a new, completely custom character that we made from scratch. And I mean, not from scratch, you know, that we made from using, you know, materials that are already in Tabletop Simulator. You could do absolutely anything you want to. If you want, you know, you want to put tank treads on them, just do it, you know, the sky's the limit. And so that's basically it. I'm going to, you know, and that's pretty much all of it right here. So I hope you guys like the videos. I hope you know it was really educational for you. I hope it kind of like taught you some stuff. And if you have any questions, definitely leave a comment at the bottom of the screen. I definitely want to hear if anybody's, you know, running into problems or if something doesn't make sense. This is the first video that I've done for this, you know, for this channel, and I really hope that it's something that you guys like. I want to do some more of this. I want to do some kind of showing how to get more into customizing even further, doing recolors and all of that stuff. So we'll go into everything if you guys are, you know, if you guys are interested. So definitely just leave a comment, you know, subscribe for more as we go. And thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one. Bye. Hey, thanks for watching. Make sure to like and comment. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. And please definitely subscribe. If you make anything cool and you want to show me, let me know in the comments, or send me a message or something. And I definitely want to kind of hear from you guys and hear how things are going. There's definitely more to come, so stay tuned. Thanks a lot.